Hey everybody, welcome back once again to the RetroGameFix.com Retro Jones podcast number 92. This is your host Mitch.
And this is Mike.
And here we are in the October 16th week. So Mike, what's been going on? You want to fire off any contact information or anything like that?
Certainly, let's get that out of the way. Questions at RetroGameFix.com is the email address. Otherwise, give us a call, 678-995-5103. We listen. Don't always play them on the show. And then your favorite social media website of choice, Facebook.com, Twitter.com, or YouTube.com/RetroGameFix.
Indeed. So what we kind of agreed to talk about, we really haven't had much of a conversation of it yet, but we both, I was kind of looking through Netflix this morning and just kind of looking for something to watch. I feel like I've watched most of the things that I've wanted to watch, but there was a documentary, vintage video game documentary, which I always love them, that I had seen a couple weeks ago, but I completely forgot to like save on. It might have been on. I don't even know how to do that on Netflix anymore. But I came across it once again. Man versus Snake. It's basically a documentary on the guy Tim McVeigh. Actually, his name is Tim McVeigh, of course. That was the first person to score 1 billion points on the Rockola Game Nibbler, which is basically Snake for all of you that had the old monochrome display.
Nokia phones, yes, and also the first person to score 1 billion points in a video game, actually, as well.
Oh, that's true. Yep. Yeah, and in Autumna, he actually was from Autumna, Iowa, where Twin Galaxies was, and he actually set the record in person. I guess it was 1983 or 1984. So that was something I came across a while ago that I was like, I got to see this, and it was pretty cool. What'd you think, Mike?
I really enjoyed it. These type of documentaries are always fascinating to me. It's funny because they all, in some ways, follow the same formula.
They do. They really do.
But I really do enjoy the stories and the history behind a lot of those older games. For a few reasons. I wasn't really old enough to be a part of that generation of gaming, so that's always fun. But my uncle was, and I remember taking along to arcades with him sometimes back in the day. And so it's always fun to kind of see those that came before us, really, by a decade.
Well, and you kind of have. I mean, first off, I mean. There have been a lot. There have been kind of a growing, lengthy list of stuff on like arcades, like arcade documentaries, video game, classic, vintage gaming, not just arcades, but basically vintage gaming documentaries that have come out in the last several years. And I kind of came up with a list of them today, and we'll talk about them as we go. But you generally really, it doesn't even matter. Honestly, like I was going to say just arcades and stuff, but beyond that, you kind of have the usual cast of characters. You have your Walter Day, your Billy Mitchell, and then, kind of smattering here and there of some of the usual characters. There are a lot of people that cross over into a lot of these different films, and I kind of looked it up, and I could be totally wrong on this because I got to be honest with you. I was watching football today and kind of half-ass looking it up on my phone on like IMDb and stuff, and I figured the directors or the writers or someone would be kind of the same guy doing all these documentaries, but it's not. I mean, there are a couple. I think Man vs. Snake was done by the same guy that did the Game Over, the Atari. When they dug up the stuff, which we'll talk about later, but for the most part. For the most part, they're by different documentary filmmakers, and they all kind of seem like they have, King of Kong was like the one that I think got most people interested, and a lot of people interested into like who is Billy Mitchell and who is Walter Day and so on. But that same format is kind of what we see in a lot of these things. But look, I'm not complaining. I love it. You see like You see a lot of these, like in this particular movie, Man versus Snake. It was a marathon, dude. I mean, it took him like how many hours? It was like 40 some hours.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the part of the documentary, but yeah, I mean, on average, it looked like it was anywhere from 35 to 38 hours, 40 hours, whatever, round up. Yeah, to sit there in front of a game and play this damn thing.
But yeah, you've got like the past, like the original thing, and then you've got like some kind of conflict. And then you've got some kind of unexpected conflict. And then you've got like, dude at rock bottom. And then you have dude like, persevering. Spoiler alert. Sorry. I guess I should have said spoiler alert before that. But it's the same. It's essentially the same movie, just different topic. I mean, we've seen some from Missile Command. We've seen the, this one was in Nibbler, which is, not as big of a game. We got Donkey Kong on King of Kong, King of Arcades was like Space Invaders and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like, you kind of have the same format for these things, but they're so great. Dude, I would watch 20 of these in a row if there were 20 in a row to watch. You know?
It's funny because now so we have the list up in chat and I'm looking at this going like, I'm going to make a weekend of this.
You should. You really should.
And it's funny because like even this most recent one, I think it's funny that it doesn't matter how popular the game is or how well known it is, right? Nibbler, I'd never heard of it, and it was.
I've heard of it, but it's not anyone that I've ever like been even remotely interested in owning.
Okay, yeah, it was funny because the Tim McVeigh alluded to that. He goes, "I'm so fucking sick of people saying." What's Nibbler? And I was like, I asked that right when this started.
Yeah. What the fuck is Nibbler? You got 1 billion points?
That guy at the beginning was hilarious. He's like, he got 1 billion points in Nibbler? What's Nibbler?
It's pretty good, but I mean, you always love to see the same cast of characters, and especially like meeting Billy Mitchell and Walter Day, and a lot of the guys, because you had God, I can't remember the crews. The dude who had the high score in Tron.
What's his name? And I can't remember.
Something Cruz. I can't remember his first name, but
I'd Google it. But anytime I Google it, Adobe Edition crashes on me.
Oh yeah, don't Google anything. But no, anyway, he was at the beginning of this movie as well, and he was actually the reason I refurbished that Tron. I actually refurbished it for the second Southern Fried Game Room Expo because I was like, oh, maybe he's going to be there. Because that year I was like, man, I will bring a mint one here, like set some kind of record on it. He's like, okay. And then of course they didn't invite him back with the second one. So I had I was just stuck with this mint Tron arcade machine. So, tough times.
Worse things to be stuck with.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. But, that you see a lot of the same marathon guys, the guy that marathon like Qbert, and I don't know. I think it's so cool because it's almost like, even though I don't really know these guys, it feels like I kind of know these guys. It's like comfortable seeing Billy Mitchell in there, like rooting for this guy. It's like, yeah, awesome. Every time Billy Mitchell is on screen or in person, it's just always like, I don't know. Yeah, it's always awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to see. So here's the thing, and I don't know where you want to kick this off, but speaking of the formula, and we kind of mentioned there's always the hang up and the conflict and then the extra conflict. The one thing that I've always found funny of all of these, it seems that every one of them, there's always a person that it feels like they want to have the top score, and they find a way to make that happen. And I'm
whether by hook or by crook or whatever.
Yeah, a little bit. And
no, that's the part, like the further conflict. That's what I'm talking about. Some kind of like fraud or like
and
some kind of questionable such and such.
Right. And there's I think
like in King of Kong, you had Billy Mitchell was sent like a tape or something instead of doing it in person. Or at least that's how it was portrayed. Remember?
Right. Yeah. I mean, some of this stuff, I'm actually not really even questioning the record holder as much as there's always, it's sometimes it's too convenient that there's always a twist. And I don't know where that comes from, but it's at the same time, these old arcade machines, and better than anybody, are a crapshoot. And, I think, Man versus Snake kind of alluded to that with power outages and bad boards and joysticks and all sorts of things that can go wrong. It's kind of funny to see how that stuff plays out,
Oh yeah, well, two things, maybe three, about what you just said, especially. Yeah, for one, it's totally a crapshoot. Like these, I'll tell you what. One of them I'll say for later. But have you ever seen? Did you ever see High Score? That was on Netflix for a while. It was.
I did not see High Score.
It's the Missile Command one. So it was a guy.
Oh shit! I did watch High Score, but I vaguely remember it. I watched that. I think it was on there last year sometime. I did watch.
Yeah, it was.
I did watch that. I don't recall a lot about it, but I do remember that. Yeah.
So High Score, I don't remember the dude's name that was trying to marathon Missile Command and whatever, but yeah, his Missile Command kept like resetting or like a couple days into his marathon, which is like that's got to be the worst thing in the world. You're up for like 30 hours straight, 38 hours straight, or something like that, and then your machine just it resets on you or turns, or some crap like that. Trust me. I mean, it's hard enough to keep these damn things working when you casually use them.
Yeah, it's
much less like marathoning.
You're like, I'm going to leave this plugged in for a day. And you come downstairs and you're like, why is it not working? I didn't even touch it.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. Like the first year of the Sutherford Game Room Expo, I brought my Thayer's Quest. And I swear to God, at least 25 times I went and had to fix the stupid thing, So it's like, there's people talk about bulletproofing and sure there's stuff that you can do, but anything short of just like completely, remanufacturing a brand new PCB and like replacing every component, it's not going to work like it's new. It's 30 years old,
Yeah, there's nothing you can actually do about that. I mean, that's part of the charm. But certainly when you're trying to set a world record, there's always got to be a part of, piece of your mind going, what is going to break? Is this thing going to stay on and actually function for the next 20 to 40 hours?
Right. Well, and the other thing that I was going to say was the, with the mention of it being such a like almost formulaic, like this stuff. That's why I looked up the directors too, because I was like, are these guys just doing the exact same thing? Or maybe, I guess they're just drawing inspiration off of one another, or maybe this stuff is actually legitimately happening. I know like King of Kong, like part of it was just like, I trust Billy Mitchell's word when he says that a lot of it was just, like Hollywood. Yeah, as far as like the portrayal and stuff, sure. And some of the conveniences and stuff, I believe that. But it's entertainment.
It is entertainment.
I love that too. It's not boring.
No, it is. It is entertainment. And look, like anything, if you're going to embellish a story, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sitting down to be entertained, and at the end of the day, I want some entertainment between the start of the documentary and the payoff. And so if they have to fabricate some things here and there, whatever, go ahead, have fun with it. Yeah, for sure. So High Score, I mean, speaking of a couple more movies here, so High Score, we both saw that. It's the Missile Command movie. I remember that being something I really liked, but yeah, again, I could watch it again kind of for the first time if you know what I mean. Yep. There might be a couple parts where I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that, but yeah, it's kind of this vague recollection. What really started it for me, and I think this is so cool. Like I love there's no denying. I mean, there's no denying. We're proof of it that in the last like X amount of years, a lot of early millennials / late Gen Xers are kind of coming into their own and kind of rediscovering their youth, which is retro games. And whether that be like the golden age of arcades or if that's like the golden age of console gaming and or whatever. A little of both,
Yeah, for sure. So that, I mean, then that's spilling over to the younger generations as well. I mean, I see like 6-year-olds with like a Duck Hunt shirt on or something like that, and they actually know what Duck Hunt aren't just being posers, or that's not just something their parents bought them for the most part. Yeah, the video game T-shirt thing is a little bit different than the music T-shirt thing, and the fact that if I see a little kid with a video game T-shirt, I'm like, you know what? I guarantee that parent probably bought them the T-shirt and was like, you got to sit down and see this. This is what I was doing. Where if I see, a 12-year-old wearing a Pink Floyd shirt, I'm always kind of like, Yeah, you don't know.
Do you really
Are you really listening to them? Could you tell me anything about them?
Could you name more than 3 Pink Floyd songs?
Or 2?
Or 1? Well, yeah, or 2. Yeah, they just be like The Wall.
They'd be like the Wish You Were Here.
Part 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway.
Anyway, but so I think that's super cool. And we kind of put our heads together here and came up with a pretty decent list. I think there maybe have been some that have that have been lost or that we just didn't think of, but there are probably more out there. But the one the first one I ever saw was Chasing Ghosts. What was the first one you ever saw?
It was either it was Chasing Ghosts or King of Kong. So should we fire through the list first just to get them all on the table and then start firing through these things?
Yeah.
So here's what we got. We have High Score, which is the Missile Command. You alluded to that. Man vs. Snake, which is Nibbler. Chasing Ghosts, which had, I think, some of Pac-Man and some of Donkey Kong.
It was mostly introducing like all these dudes from like Twin Galaxies and like all the dudes from the photo shoot, from in Autumna, Iowa or whatever. Sure. And so it's a lot of the high score guys like these people did this. It's more about like the origin of competitive gaming.
Sure.
If that's a thing.
Yep. So King of Kong, King of Arcades, Game Over, which is an Atari centric documentary that
Game Over was the one where they dug up the Atari games.
The ET and that stuff. And I think that was exclusive to Xbox for a while, but I think that might be on Netflix now. Special When Lit and Tilt. I have not seen either of those. I'm assuming those are pinballs.
Yep.
Nintendo Quest, which we talked about
several weeks ago,
5 or 6 episodes ago, and then Indie Game, which focused on Braid and Fez and Super Meat Boy.
Super Meat Boy, yep.
And then there was Video Games the Movie, which I think Zach Braff was in, and a few other Hollywood guys did that one. So
what was Video Games the Movie? I'm blanking on that one.
So that one,
I know I just watched it.
That one started out as was trying to be a historic recollection of video games, and there's a lot of. It started out as a video game started here, and then it just turned into kind of like a bunch of here's Hollywood C-lister du jour talking about how he loved Nintendo, and here's Hollywood C-lister du jour talking about how he was a Sega kid. And I got to be honest, it was obviously pretty forgettable because I can't remember any real details.
I know I just watched that a matter of months ago, but I don't remember a thing about that.
Yeah, it was very it was overproduced and underdelivered in the content category. I think it was
vaguely. I remember being disappointed by that one. I think.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot for me to be like disappointed, but just being like, I knew all that stuff. That's all good. You guys wanted to have fun making a movie. I'm glad you did it.
I'll watch it, even if it sucks.
So I probably have to watch that one again. But yeah, I mean, so that's on the list too. So
well, that's good. Honestly, some of them are forgettable, but like. I like that. Like, I like to be able to go back and watch them again. Like, if I see High Score pop up again, I'll totally watch that. I mean, I'll watch any of these again for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, we got 11 of these things on the list. So, I mean, from an hour to 2 hours apiece. I mean, yeah, you can make, it's fun to go back.
Video gaming history, like, it's legitimate part of our society. I mean, it's to some extent. I mean, as far as our generation, at least, it's a legitimate part of our past,
Yeah, I mean, it's this weird blend of the Gen X, the back half of the Gen X and the first half of the millennials, I think really kind of have the most insight into it. The rest of it was kind of like, the millennials started with their PlayStation 3s, PlayStation 2s, which was after us. And then, the Gen Xers kind of go, oh yeah, I remember when the first arcade opened up the street, and you're like, shit, that would have been awesome.
Right. Well, so
and then even a little earlier with the 70s and some of that stuff, but I mean that's even a little prior. I mean the Atari stuff is even a little hard for me to grasp at this point, but
yeah, I mean I really don't have any nostalgia towards it. I really, my nostalgia kicked off with the NES for sure and the Master System, obviously. But, the first one I saw was Chasing Ghosts and King of Kong, like back to back, because it almost seems like King of Kong is a sequel to Chasing Ghosts, but I don't think they really have anything in common with each other director, but I could be wrong.
No, and I watched them in the same. I don't know if I watched them in the same order, but those were the first two that I watched as well.
Really, it almost seems like Chasing Ghosts was like setting up King of Kong. I felt like it was a kind of a King of Kong being a sequel like fit, but it's not really a sequel. And again, I really half-assed the directors and all that stuff. I really don't care. So if I'm wrong about that, then whatever. But I think King of Arcades was actually kind of I don't know if they were different directors. Honestly, I don't know if they were different directors or not, but I had the feeling that the same guy that did King of Kong did King of Arcades, but I think I totally am wrong about that. But anyways, King of Arcades was that actually was I believe debuted at the second SFG, or maybe it was the first. I don't remember, but no, it was the first, I think. But anyways, it's Richie Knuckles and his arcade. It's the same exact storyline or arc that you have in the rest of them, or it's like tragedy, or this is this awesome thing that I have, and this is what I do. Tragedy, depression, betrayal, whatever, and then eventually like
payoff, it's the same. New record, whatever.
It's the same thing, but look. I say that as almost it's like it's a negative thing, but it's so not a negative thing, dude. Give me 20 of these things a week, and I'll watch all of them every single week.
Like if I actually, this is one of those things where, and I'm not. This isn't hyperbole, and I'm not bullshitting. I actually feel like there are enough stories out there that Netflix could do one of its Netflix documentary originals and get 13 episodes out of some of this retro video game stuff, whether that's arcades and our arcades moving into consoles. I just feel like there's enough there, and there's enough interesting people with enough interesting stories to do something pretty cool around it.
Dude, I think that idea is gold. I really think that is a fantastic idea. If I knew anything about anything connected to that.
I mean, because Netflix always hits it out of the park. I mean, you look at, I forgot, Making a Murderer and shit, and you're like, this really probably didn't need to be 13 episodes, but it was, and it was awesome.
It was fantastic. And look, Netflix didn't do this, but like, look at some of the shit that's been up there that I think is awesome. Like there was the, what the hell? I don't even know what the name of the series was, but it was like, about beard and mustache competitions and shit. And I was like, oh my God, this is freaking hilarious. I love it. Like I can't get enough of it. Yeah. I mean, people would dig that. I think that, honestly, I think that idea that you just had is absolute gold. And I think it's just a matter of time.
Probably is. And if it hasn't hit, if people haven't pitched it yet and there's somebody that is in at Netflix or somewhere else, you can have that idea gratis.
Absolutely. Give us a cameo at some point.
Yeah, at least give us a cameo.
Be like, this is Mike and Mitch from RetroGameFix.com, and here's what they say about something stupid.
They're in their mid-30s and still laugh hysterically when one of them farts into a microphone.
Totally. Absolutely. Who doesn't?
Never get old.
In fact, we'll just fart into a microphone. We'll be like, here's what Mitch and Mike have to say from RetroGameFix.com.
I actually farted earlier, and I thought it was loud enough for the microphone to pick it up, but you didn't laugh, so I was like, nope. Guess it wasn't loud enough.
Well, no, I mean, it may have been. Well, I'll have to listen to the podcast and listen for it. But my kid is, I can hear him in the background. You can probably hear him in the background.
So they might have been offset by some noise. It is funny because every now and then, I
probably just figured it was him.
If you listen, sometimes I will hear a fart on the recording that I didn't hear during the recording. Those are the best.
Yeah, you'd be like, what?
Anyway,
so moving forward. So King of Arcades was really cool.
I have not seen King of Arcades, at least that I recall, so I'll have to check that out.
I don't even know where you can watch it at, honestly. Like, maybe on Amazon or something.
Somewhere. I'd be able to track it down, I'm sure.
So Game Over was the famous Atari dig where they dug up the where Atari had supposedly like buried all these Atari games when they went under from E.T. and so on.
They rolled up in the desert in a DeLorean.
Yeah. So that was pretty good. I thought that was one of my less favorite ones. I thought like the premise of it was fascinating, but like the execution was like, it was okay. But look, the guys that made that, if you, again, extend that offer to you as well. If you want to make 20 of these documentaries a week, I will watch every single one of them.
Every one of them.
Yeah.
I would, yeah. I mean, it's always just good, and it's just like it's some of them. Again, they're always easily digestible, and they never go too deep into the weeds, which sometimes I actually wish they would. But there's always little nuggets in every one of them that I go, oh, that was cool.
Well, it's funny too because me and my wife, we always watch a lot of these together, and like King of Kong, I remember. She was like obsessed with Burger Time. Like that was where she was like, Burger Time, I'm going to play that, and there's certain things like, with these marathon guys or whatever, she was her favorite pinball in our collection is Roller Coaster Tycoon. She's really, really good at it. Like I don't stand a chance of ever getting in the high score list ever again in my entire life. Her top is like 30 some million or something like that. So I looked up the record for the high score in Twin Galaxies, and it's like 35 million. I was like, you could totally beat that. I was like, you need to start training for like SFG 4 or some shit this next year, and we'll bring it there and like break the world record or something. Because I was like, you legitimately could break the world record on for Roller Coaster Tycoon. But I think, but. Anyway, so Game Over was the Atari thing. Special When Lit, I think it just, that's another one that I have a vague recollection of. I know I watched it. All of these have been in, I'm sorry, not all of them, but most of them have been on Netflix at one time or another. So Special When Lit, that one I think was just more of a history of pinball. And ever since I caught the bug again, I really want to go back and look again. Because I want to see if any of the machines I have or any machines that I'm interested are like in that lineup, and like the artists and whatever. I want to see what these people look like and what they're talking about and stuff. So I'm going to seek that one out. I think I'm going to watch that on like the internet somehow. So I think that one's readily available if I remember right.
Yeah. Some of these, if they don't have any kind of copyright thing filed into YouTube or the internet sheriff or whatever the hell it's called. A lot of these things probably can be found either in parts or in full on YouTube. So
yeah, and I think that honestly, I think that's where I watched it. So Tilt was really, really interesting. That was about the fall of like pinball in general, like when Williams went down and kind of when they were struggling after like the Addams Family was such a fantastic pin that was kind of the down. They reference that as being kind of the downfall of the pinball industry because operators would just keep it running because it was such a hit. It was always a hit, and it still is, 24 years later. So it was just basically saying, talking about how Williams all of a sudden weren't selling enough machines, and their pinball division was losing money. And look, there were some amazing pinball machines that came in between there. But in 1999, the savior of pinball was supposed to be this brilliant idea, which it was brilliant, of Pinball 2000, which were the two games that they have were the Star Wars Episode 1 and Revenge from Mars, which were basically like, you have you can't really see the monitor, but it's like reversed and shining down on the glass. So it really gives you the illusion that you're interacting with a hologram when you're playing these machines. It's so awesome. But anyways, that was supposed to be the savior, and they actually were a super hit with those, but Williams still closed their pinball division. So Tilt is all about that. And man, it's sometimes maybe reality has that storyline arc, but it's the same thing. Maybe different result at the end, but for the most part, it's the same thing. So Tilt was fantastic. Special When Lit, I think, was pretty good, but Tilt was like where it's at. So moving on, Nintendo Quest. We talked about that at length recently, right?
We did, yeah. A guy from Canada went on a worldwide journey to get NES games and hit the East Coast and Chicago.
Yep. So, I don't know. It was entertaining. And again, I'd watch if they came out with another video, I'd watch it too. But, some I like better than others.
Here's the thing about Nintendo Quest. I really we've talked about it at length, but I enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed it a lot less if Friend du Jour would have stopped jumping in and trying to be like, I know about video games, and instead of those little...
I want to be a part of this movie, too.
Yeah, it was like, hey, guys. Hey, I got my hand up. Can I talk? I actually just wish that instead of that, they would have used those segments to actually talk about the budget and maybe what they were paying for some of the titles. I think it'd be even more interesting now. I think why it's even kind of pisses me off a little more now is the fact that we're seeing so many games go up in price. I would have been interested to see what they paid for them, 4 years ago or whatever, whenever they were on their little journey. Because I even think back to I paid $90 for Tournament Fighters on NES loose.
Right.
And it's now going for about $190. And at the time, I could have got the complete in box for $190, which is now going for $400.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man. So, wish they would have.
It goes both ways.
It does go both ways. I wish there would have been more of that, but I still enjoyed it. But yeah,
I did. There were just some things that were the same things were irritating to me, and they'll probably be irritating to anybody who watches it. But
it's just infuriating because they'd cut, and you'd be like, no, wait. What'd you pay for that?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like guy being like, if you remember, 1980s. I'm like, no, I don't.
Blah, 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 blah. I think everybody just wanted to fast forward through that guy. But all that being said, we are kind of ripping on it here, and we did before. All that being said, I would watch it. I would watch it again.
Actually, I probably will watch it again. I think I would probably actually enjoy it more the second time through because I won't be as distracted by the things that bothered me. And I'll be honest,
you know what to expect.
There's a lot of good stuff there, so we're having fun with it a little bit. It's really it's certainly worthwhile, and I think it's if you're a Nintendo fan, and it's worth watching. It certainly is, and it was entertaining. Outside of the fact that, just having a little fun with it.
Yep. So, indie game was really interesting. It's less retro, more like modern.
Yeah.
Definitely more modern. It's just indie game developers. I mean, you could probably describe this one better than me.
Yeah, so this one was Phil Fish, who made Fez. The dudes that made Super Meat Boy, I forgot their names.
I was going to say Phil Fish is probably the only name you're going to be able to remember out of all three of those guys.
And then what's his name? He did Braid, and then he most recently did the Maze game. I am going to pull this up. Why can't I remember his name?
We're going to lose a feet. No, I'm just kidding.
Jonathan Blow. Jonathan Blow. He did, right. Yeah. So anyway, excuse me, they followed kind of the development and release cycle of those indie games. Yeah, certainly not modern, but I feel like it actually, or not retro per se, but I feel like it actually kind of fits into this in a way that the indie development scene has changed so much since then, because that movie was made in the early days of the Xbox 360 arcade.
Right.
And the way that indie games are now rolled out because of how popular they actually are, I feel like those three games really blazed the trail for what indie is now. And so as far as the timeline and life cycle of where indie games are now from where they were, I feel like that it really kind of sums up, this is kind of where it all started in a way, or where it all got popular. And I think for that reason, it is kind of a nice look back in time, even though, and it's funny because we sit here and think about, like, it feels so recent. And I mean, that was, 10 years ago. So the movie isn't 10 years old, but when those games were starting to launch, I mean, they were anywhere from 7 to 10 years old, and you're going like, damn.
Well, I guess I didn't play Braid, but I played Super Meat Boy, and I beat Fez. Fez was awesome. Fez was as good as build. Like, that's one of those things that's so much build up, but I feel like he actually delivered in the end, and he went through so much. He's a little bit crazy, obviously, and people were a little bit crazy towards him as well, but that was great. Super Meat Boy I wasn't as impressed with because it's like everything follows that formula now. But look, if that were like one of the first ones, I probably would have been more impressed by it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
we came to that one a little late.
I lost perspective on that, yeah.
I still enjoyed what I played of it, but I probably played it for an hour and a half total. I think a lot like you, what I played, I really enjoyed. But I was like, okay, I get it. Super hard platformer, fun stuff. I'm going to actually go back and play Fez.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the last one that we had on our list was Video Games the Movie. Kind of already talked about that one. I still don't. I'm going to have to go back and, a couple of these I'm going to have to go back and watch for the first time again. I would, looking at this list, I would watch them all again. You're right. We should just make a weekend of it.
You know what we could do? You know what we could do?
What's that?
And I think we could certainly do this. Did I ever mail you that webcam? Do you still have that?
Yeah, I still have it.
We could actually probably live stream us watching these movies together and just pop up our webcams.
Right.
And Skype it. I actually think that'd be pretty effing hilarious.
That would be funny.
I don't know if we'd want to. I don't know. And I don't know if we actually have to live broadcast it or just recording it would actually probably be funny as hell anyway, because you'd get some commentary in there. I mean, for the most part, it would be just us watching it, but, maybe an idea. I don't know. Maybe it's a dumb idea now that I said it out loud.
Oh, maybe.
It's actually a dumb idea, and let's be clear, we're never going to do that.
No. Yeah, first and foremost, yeah, that.
We're never going to do that, ever.
No. But anyway, yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, the webcam thing maybe, but actually making a weekend out of a bunch of these things, I could do that.
Yeah.
Get a week off of work or something. I could totally do that. That'd be awesome. But anyway, so just something that came up this morning. I'm really glad I stumbled on that again. Man versus Snake. And look, if there are any out there that we missed, I would love for anybody to just message us or something, because I love these things. I cannot get enough, and especially, games that are lesser known like Nibbler and stuff. I don't care. It's a compelling story and it's awesome. Like, it just is. They always do you don't really like, especially with some of the characters that are central, all these stories, like, from the early 80s and from that era, from the Twin Galaxies era and so on. You don't even really need to have a strong plot or anything like that. These guys will take care of it for you. Like the whole. By the way, I got to mention this because I thought this was awesome. Look, Walter Day is nicest guy you'll ever meet. I mean, from what I can gather. I mean, I don't know. I've talked to him for maybe like 15 minutes total in my entire life. So he could be a serial. No, I'm not going to say that. But my God, that was freaking hilarious. When he was talking, remember the part when he's talking about
Haight-Ashbury and going and getting doing all the drugs, and then that part.
Yeah, when he was like, I used to be on the beach a lot, and I had these girls come to me one time, and they're like, "You have the hottest body of anybody out here," and I'm like, Walter Day.
Hey man, it was the 70s.
Ah, that's hilarious. I'm sorry. Look, Walter Day, I'm sure you had the hottest body or whatever. But
probably had the hottest body. He's a sexy man.
It's just so weird.
If you take a step back and look, you're just like, I can see the sexy man in there. Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that was my last note on that. I thought that was hilarious. There's definitely some moments. Walter Day is a character, man. Him and, like I said, the usual cast of characters that are in all these movies pretty much are just pure entertainment. They're just fun and awesome. And I don't know. They have a presence for sure that, like, again, your movie could suck and those guys could be in it. And I think their presence just lifts like whatever it is.
Yeah, it always elevates the movie in a way that you're like, well, Billy Mitchell was in it, so it's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
there was another. So I'm sure we'll get this, but I just did a quick IMDb search. Apparently, in 2011, there was a movie called Ecstasy of Order, which it follows the world's best Tetris players.
Ooh, I gotta see that.
So that would be fun. And it's funny because a lot of these that are popping up, they were made, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago. And I think now with, at the time they were probably low budget, push them out on DVD or even maybe VHS, depending, probably DVD, but depending when they were made. And I think now they're seeing like, hey, the internet's a thing. We can rip these and republish them. And I think that's why you're starting to see some of these things rebubble up on the likes of YouTube and Netflix and things like that, because there's another opportunity here where you can get it in front of everybody. And with the resurgence specifically in the last 2 to 3 years in retro games, there's not a better time to try to get your story out there again. And so hopefully more of these start coming out of the woodwork.
Well, yeah, I just looked at that too. I'm glad you looked at that. I'm totally going to check it out because it looks like on their website. I mean, you could tell all these, like a lot of them, you can tell like independent awards up the wazoo, right? And so this one shows all their different awards that they won, but it's $2.99 to like watch the movie and online. I'll totally watch that. I'll definitely donate $2.99.
Yeah, it looks like it's on. It looks like you can watch it for $2.99 on Amazon.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'm in. I'll do it. So anyway, so yeah. As far as that goes, if we missed anything, let us know because I want to see more. I haven't seen enough, and 11 is definitely not enough, and about to be 12 with the Tetris one. So anyway, so putting that one aside for the moment, so Mike, let's kind of switch gears a little bit. Like, what's been going on this week? What do you got from this week?
So kind of a lot of the same, but that's not a bad thing. Man, Paper Mario. So I had a bit of a roller coaster with Paper Mario, and then it drew me back in.
What do you mean?
So I started. So I'm about 3 hours in, I think, at this point. So I'm not, real far. But after last week's podcast, I played more of it. Maybe I'm like 4 hours in. I don't know. And during the week, I listened to a few podcasts that were saying, God, so last week, if you remember, I was like, yeah, the combat's really cool. You have the gamepad, and then you do the paint, you flick the card, and it's all sorts of fun.
It's all like, it's kind of a dangerous thing to listen to other people's opinions on some stuff.
So I listened to some people's opinion, and that didn't go over well with a lot of people. And I started playing again. I was like, you know what? This is kind of tedious. I don't know if I like it now. And then I found out that you can get rid of one of the screens on the combat part of it that makes you like click through a screen to do what you need to do. It's kind of redundant. I turned that off, and I found that just that one screen really it's basically this one screen that you put your card in place and you have to click another button to paint it. It gets rid of that screen. Which the less I have to click a button, I mean, you're like, oh, it's just a button click. When you have to do that a few thousand times a game, it gets annoying. So I turned that off, and it made it quite a bit more enjoyable. The only thing I really wish it was cool at first. I wish I didn't have to flick it to the screen anymore. Because it's like you have a card ready button. And you're like, card ready, and like I click that, and like I just want to be in combat. And I continuously find myself looking at the screen, and Mario's just standing there doing his little thing. And I'm like, why the fuck ain't I in battle? I'm like, oh yeah, I got to flick it to the screen. So if I could have got rid of that, that'd be fine. But not enough. Dude, the game is so good that me complaining about that is not. It's the least of my worries. So I'm really, 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 really enjoying Paper Mario still. And then the second thing was Tomb Raider, I think last Tuesday, came out on PlayStation 4. And it's
no longer an exclusive by Xbox.
Right. So that came out a year after it came out for Xbox. I played it on Xbox, but after playing Tomb Raider and then playing Uncharted 4, my opinions of Uncharted 4 are well documented. I didn't enjoy it as much as a lot of other people.
Sure.
And I continue to say that I preferred Tomb Raider as a game over Uncharted 4. And I want to clarify a couple things. Uncharted is still my favorite series of all time. That has not changed. I think as far as a collection of games 1 through 4, and as far as a story goes, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a better series than Uncharted 4, in my opinion.
Sure.
But there's fun stuff to discuss. I mean, Uncharted 4 probably would have never existed if it wasn't for Tomb Raider. And Uncharted came out and raised the bar storytelling-wise. But when Tomb Raider came back, it was like Uncharted out Tomb Raider. And then I feel like when the Tomb Raider series was reboosted or re-released, or however you want to say it, I feel like Tomb Raider then out Uncharted, but not from a storytelling perspective, but from a gameplay perspective. And with Uncharted out, I'm curious to hear the reviews coming out, because I've listened to a lot of people say, well, Uncharted's a poor man's, or Tomb Raider's a poor man's Uncharted, or stuff like that. And they're really one and the same in a lot of ways, but it's kind of just what's your taste, what's your preference. And for me, the Tomb Raider, and you played some of the first part of the series, Tomb Raider gives you multiple weapons.
It's so good. Like you speaking of that right now, I'm like, why the hell don't I go back and fire that up again? I need to get through the first one. It's so good.
It really is. And I think the one part that I really like, so no, the story is not engaging as cinematic as Uncharted. But
I don't mind that.
I don't mind that either, because what really draws me into the Tomb Raider series is the fact that the gunplay in combat is so tight and so fun. And then you combine that with the fact that I love the light RPG elements of, hey, do you want to upgrade your crossbow? Do you want to be able to carry more bullets? I love that upgrade path, where Uncharted really is kind of the like, sit down and shut up and go for the ride. And by the fourth one, that formula was really kind of wearing thin on me. And I felt like Tomb Raider brought a lot of just the branching upgrade paths for your skills and weapons was just enough for me to say, wow, this really adds a lot to what is otherwise just a dumb action game. And then there's light puzzles and everything else. And so I just kind of wanted to get that out there, that if you have a PlayStation 4 and you haven't played the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Rise of Lore, whatever the hell it's called, and you just played Uncharted and you say, I don't really want more of that, trust me, go play Tomb Raider. It was a lot of people's game of the year last year, and it's not going to get it this year because it's just out on PlayStation 4, but man, that's a good game. And I
believe it.
It's good enough where actually I almost want to go because they have the 20th anniversary edition, which is just the latest Tomb Raider, but I almost want to replay it on PlayStation 4 or PC, just to get the better graphics. So go play that. It's so good.
Awesome. And
then I played more Forza a little bit on my computer. I tried the Xbox Play Anywhere. Works perfect. Boot up my computer. It syncs my saves, and I'm playing Forza at 4K.
Sweet.
Which looks pretty fucking amazing. And then, that game's really good.
I believe it, man. I believe it.
So, I mean, that's kind of been my week in gaming. I kind of went and tried to hunt down a couple more Wii U games today. There was a limited release physical copy of what was called Wii U Sports Club, which was essentially Wii Sports for the Wii U.
Right.
Impossible to find locally. You can get them on eBay for about $60. It was a $40 release when it came out. I want to find Super Luigi Wii U as the separate release, which is a $30 game when it came out, and you can still find it for about that. And then there is new Super Mario Brothers Wii U that was also released solo, because the one I have has the Luigi and Mario stuff on in one package. So that will round out the last of what I need for the Nintendo published games on Wii U until Zelda Breath of the Wild comes out. I even found Wii Fit with the Wii Fit monitor on clearance for $13 a few weeks back. So I even have that. So so I've got everything except those other releases. So I kind of unintentionally fell into the Wii U physical game collecting, but since I'm so close, like we've said before, I'm gonna finish that off. So
you might as well. You got to kind of assess where you're at with everything and see what's worth going after, and that is definitely.
Yeah, I mean, when you're 4 games out, you're like, well, fuck it.
Well, plus Nintendo, like Nintendo in general, I think, especially their first party software, like their first party stuff. I think that's always a worthy cause.
It's always good, and so I know eventually you'll end up with a Wii U.
I will. You know it.
And I want to have this conversation after you get one, but I think the Wii U is going to be a lot like the GameCube, where people were so focused on A, the price, and I can understand that, and B, what the hell is this gamepad for? But if you just get over it, there are so many good games on it. So many good games on it, and it's a shame that it Nintendo out-Nintendo'd themselves to the fact that it just didn't sell well, and hopefully they don't do that with the NX. But man, I really love my Wii U. So
hell yeah, sweet.
But I don't know if I texted you a picture that Broken Token posted about some Ghostbusters premiums that they found or something. How's that search going?
I did. No, it's fine. I could buy see, premiums are a little bit out of what I want to spend on it.
Right.
Pros are available now, and I'm deciding if I want to buy one. So, and I've been talking about this for so many months that I'm kind of like, I don't know what I want right now. I'm kind of a little bit more chilled about like getting rid of this wad of cash as I was before. And I'm thinking about it because I have a choice. There's an Indiana Jones for about the same price, Williams Indiana Jones, which is like one of the best games ever. A wide body, just classic. And, or I could buy like two $2,500 games, and there are some amazing $2,500 games out there that I have a choice at. So I'm not really, it's weird. I've always been really quick to make decisions before, but this last year I've just been slow as hell. I'm just like, I don't know. One day it could be this and one day it could be that. So I kind of gotta make up my mind here at some point. And, I guess I will when I will. So I saw your post in there. I'm like, yeah, I could get one now. But now I'm like, do I want, if I'm going to drop that kind of cash, do I want a Ghostbusters? Or do I wait for, instead of me taking the depreciation for having the new in-box experience, can I just like wait a couple of years and then take somebody else's depreciation like off of what I'm spending on it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's funny because like A of all, if $5,000's a lot to spend when you're starting to have those kind of just second thoughts on where to spend the money. And then B of all, the Ghostbuster hype is starting to die down a little bit. And with the problems they had in production. With
the initial runs, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, then you're starting to go, you got to imagine, the resale might take a hit at some point just based on overall excitement for the brand. And then secondly, can you prove to me you don't have one of the early release machines?
Well, that I could prove, but you can actually check the date on it as well. But I do feel bad for the people who bought the early release machines, and I think Stern is actually one of the guys. I talked to a guy this week that had said that they're actually sending him a new playfield, and that's all and well. But the fact of the matter is, you'd have to do a playfield swap, and you don't know how many hours that would take to do a playfield swap. It's so ungodly tedious.
Yeah. So I can only imagine to get all of those components.
So you're gonna take a big hit from having an earlier machine. Look, I'm not above it. If somebody's got one for dirt cheap down a couple of years down the road, shit, I'll buy one with ghosting on it. I don't care. I mean, I don't care as much as most people do as far as that goes. I'll deal with it. If that means I can get a significant discount, cool. But, and none of this means that I won't end up with a Ghostbusters within the next month,
No,
I might, but, so aside from that, though, I've had a couple things going on this week. I got, I've been talking about my Tempest for a while, and I've got the most snake-bittenest Tempest. I know that's redundant because all Tempests are redundant or like snake bitten, but my Tempest is seriously, I'll get it working, and then a couple days later, or a couple hours, sometimes a couple minutes later, the damn thing will stop working. And I got to go back in there and fix it again. I don't know how many times I've fixed this damn thing. If you count like each individual thing, like the board, repin the entire harness, rebuilt the AR boards, fix the board set 3 times. Fix the monitor 25 times. It's just like, seriously, if the game, the thing that obviously the thing that the game has going for it is that it's awesome. But so I finally I tell you what, like, I know my board set was working, but the monitor, like, I could hear it like kick on. It was like shh, but I couldn't see it. There was no picture coming out of it. So I was like, God damn it, this monitor again. So this was months ago. This was like 4 months ago where I was at that point. I was like, I just don't have the heart or the resolve right now to go in there and try and fix this thing. Because I know I'm going to probably most likely be disappointed in 5 minutes afterwards, Mm-hmm. So I finally did that this weekend, just in case Stranger Things needs to rent my Tempest or whatever. My God, it took me 5 minutes. I got the damn thing running again, and it works great so far, knock on wood. Works better than it's ever worked before. It looks better, and I love that game, man. So I've been playing the hell out of some Tempest. Well, I'm getting it while the getting's good. Let's put it that way,
Yeah, you have to.
by next week, I could be like, something blew up in it and it no longer works.
Well, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, man. These machines have a mind of their own, and
that's exactly what I was thinking about the entire conversation as well. I was like, man, you can't do shit. There's no such thing as bulletproofing some of these things, It's 30 years old, man. Like, unless you like completely repro everything, there's absolutely no. Even these things when they were brand new in the arcades, there was no guaranteeing sometimes, Like Baby Pac-Man was always a buggy machine. Tempest was always a pain in the ass, Like, those things probably went down within the first year of being operated. So it's like, that's exactly it. Like, you can't ever depend on these things because they're not dependable. So, but with that being said, everything in my basement works now, which is a pretty awesome feeling. And I've been playing a lot of Outrun, and I've been playing a lot of Tempest, and obviously playing a lot of Pinball as it is. So that's pretty much where I went. I fired up Mario Kart 3DS this week too, and I've been playing the hell out of that too. That was a game where I kind of when I first got my 3DS, I got like a bunch of games, and I was like, I really like this game, but I really want to go on to the next one. So I've been kind of revisiting that and playing some Mario Kart. What was it, Mario Kart 7?
7, yeah, on 3DS. Yep.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I'm always doing gaming. You're always doing gaming, so it's not like any of that's new or anything. Like, it's not like we're like, I pretended like I played video games. No. We legit, we keep it real.
So sometimes it's just, some weeks it's just, you cuddle in with your favorite comfort food and a blanket and fire off on the same thing week to week. And, especially, with kids and life and school and work and everything else and, other hobbies, what have you, Sometimes video game time dwindles and you just go, I'm going to snuggle in with this game that I know always makes me
old comfort food over there.
Yeah. I mean, Mario Kart's one of the best. I mean, anytime you're like, what should I play? You can always throw in Mario Kart, whether it's 15 minutes or 30. I mean, fucking Mario Kart is good all the time.
Even and strangely enough, this is almost seems sacrilegious in any other really in any other like franchise, but like the first Mario Kart was like the worst, but it was still good.
Right. Well, and like 7 on 3DS is like really easy, but it's still good.
Yeah. Well, it depends on who you are. If it's easy, nothing's ever easy for me. But.
There's a documentary coming out about my Mario Kart 7 prowess in 2017. Stay tuned.
Dude, I'll watch it. Awesome. Well, the only other thing that I have to add about my week is that I think I talked about this last week, where I have that twin win pinball. It's like a racing theme, EM, electromechanical.
Yep.
Pinball. So I stenciled that this week, and I just sent you a picture of it on your phone, by the way, because I don't think I did that yet.
Could you send that picture to me snail mail?
No, I just sent it to you on your phone. So
okay.
But
there it is. That looks. Dude, I will tweet this out right now. Wow. You did you did full stencil on this?
Yeah, full stencil, everything. So that's my project right now. I Brasso is a lifesaver because I got to show you some before and after pictures of like some of the metal on. Because the funny thing is the glass, like the side rails and the glass are all one piece. And they were so grungy, and the coin door was so grungy. I thought it was like just rusty as shit and just disgusting. But I sat down there for a couple hours this week, and all the metal parts, I just scrubbed them with a sponge and some Brasso, and it shined them right up, man. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Now, it doesn't work. And I've never worked on an EM before. I've got a guy sending me the schematics this week because they're nowhere to be found on the internet. And I don't know what the hell I'm looking at for the most part without the schematics. So I think I know I'm going to be able to figure it out. And EMs are really actually not that hard. I've got 5 problems that I can detect right now. And the problem is I don't even know if I can detect the other problems because I don't have any experience fixing EM. So that's kind of been my thing. I kind of had to finally put it down after some point and be like, all right, I got to wait for the schematics because I'm just flying blind here. I'm just trying to figure out what the hell everything is.
At some point you're like, I might cause more bad than good here. I got to wait on this for a minute.
And I have. I'll be honest. I have. Like, some things don't work that did work before, and I have no freaking idea why. But it's a cool racing themed electromechanical. I think it's perfect for my collection. I might just keep it out by my Daytonas or something. I think it's just cool. I mean, I got it for free, and it's a really nice play field. It's been clear coated and everything. Somebody already did that for me, and cosmetically, like, the back glass is in pretty good shape, and everything's. The stenciling was like the biggest thing. It was like yellow. It's supposed to be white, and it was like yellow when I first got it, like disgusting. So I feel pretty good about what it's looking like, what it's shaping up to look like, and that's kind of my project. I'm kind of getting back into restoration mode here, which is fun. So I don't know. It's great. I think now that my Tempest works, I think, generally with my Tempest, I wanted to make sure that thing was dependable for a while. So I might wait like a month. And if that thing still isn't crapped out, I might start to restore that. So anyway,
cool.
That's it. That's really all I got, though, to be honest. I've been keeping busy. I mean, it actually, I guess it sounds like a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know, Mike. What else you got this week?
Yeah, man. I think that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, I don't have anything else.
All right. Yeah, that's it for me too for this week. But us, we'll be back every week. We're back every week with more retro gaming goodness and all that fun stuff. So for RetroGameFix.com, the Retro Jones podcast number 92. This is Mitch.
And this is Mike.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.